This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesianicristo.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to New Jersey Satellite Studio, where we show you the flavor of life here in the District of New Jersey.
Hey everyone, welcome back to INCRadio New Jersey Satellite Studio, where we show you the flavor of life. And today's flavor is part 2 of becoming a better listener. So we changed things up a little bit. Last time it was Diane and Naima, and today we have Karen and Marisol. Hey everybody. Hi Karen, how are you?
Hey,
Marisol, how are you?
Hi.
All right. We are always overtime, so we're going to dive right into it. We're talking again about how to become a better listener. So, before we get started on the tips and tricks from our resident moms and grandma from Karen's side, we're going to go to you first, Karen. So, why do you think it's important to be a good listener?
it's important to be a good listener because people are coming to you sometimes for advice or sometimes just to have someone to just, talk to, just a listening ear. So it's good to be there to pay attention to show them that you are there for them because sometimes it may not seem important to you, but the person who's talking really needs you to really listen to what they're saying.
No, you're absolutely right. We talked about that in the previous episode. It's like, well, do you want someone to vent or do you want actual advice? So, what about you, Marisol? What are your thoughts about the importance of being a good listener?
Yeah, just like Karen, being a good listener is super important to everyone, and all of us can work on it because I believe that all of us are guilty. I personally am guilty of sometimes not being a good listener because it's so easy to be distracted, like when you're somebody's talking to you, you kind of think like you have so many things going on in your head, so you're not really focused on listening to the individual, but actually listening is one way of showing respect to the other person. It's one way of showing them that you value them, what their thoughts are and what they're feeling. So this is a very good topic because we all wanna feel valued, right? So in one way of showing that we value our friends or family is by being an active listener.
I just want to add sometimes I get so caught up in my own thoughts that mid sentence, I forget what I'm saying. I don't know if that's ever happened to anyone. It's like, I don't even, and I agree with you. So you want to show respect to whoever's talking to you. And not only that, you also want to respect their time, right? I know we're going to be talking about different kinds of scenarios, but I'm sure we've all been in that work meeting where the meeting didn't have to be that long. It's like, we could have cut that part out. We all run into those. So respecting people's time, especially in the region that we live in the Northeast, it's so important. Everyone's always rushing to do something else. So, all right. So, first question. All right, let's discuss distractions. So, outside noise, cell phone, multitasking, listening to respond instead of listening for listening, making I mean there's so many different examples I have here, making it about them, like someone hijacks your conversation, like you're sharing. So I mean, what can you say about distractions, Karen, regarding, especially as a mom, as a grandmother, or in we didn't really touch on that last episode. So how do you become a better, and how do you teach kids to be a better listener?
Well, first of all, you have to take away the distractions. That's why, when someone want to talk to you, make sure you have that time to sit and talk, that there's not a lot going on around you, that you're not in the middle of your show. If you are, turn it off. Give them that you have to give them, like Maricel said, the respect. And giving them respect is removing any obstacle that may, cause you any distraction. And you need to be just clearly listening to them. Sometimes we're listening and we're ready to interject something, but a lot of times when we do that, it's not even the point that the person is trying to make. So we have to fully listen to see what their point is. And I think another way of doing it is also to reflect back to them what they're saying, because sometimes, to hear it back to you is like, you don't really have to give them any advice, because when they hear you just repeating what they're saying, then it kind of like, oh, okay, it's answering a question for them, because a lot of times when people are talking, they're not listening to themselves. So sometimes you have to help them hear what they're saying.
Okay. What about you, Marisol? What do you think? I mean, how do you teach kids? Like I was thinking about this. Like I don't remember
Yeah.
learning how to be a good listener from childhood. So
Well, I always say, like, parenting, the best way to really teach your children is by modeling the behavior that you want them to learn. So I think the best way to make them a good listener is to be a good listener to them as well. I always catch myself not not being like actively listening to my kids. Like when I come home from work, with my job, when I come home from work, I'm not really done working because I have to finish my notes, my documentation, especially if I had a really long day and I don't finish all like before I get come home. So I come home and I ask them how they're doing. They tell me what happened to school. But sometimes like in the middle of that conversation, I kind of like zone out or like just autopilot, like, oh yeah, but my eyes are on the tablet doing my notes, and like I'm kind of, I I want to project that I'm listening to them, but honestly, I'm really not listening to them. And then I would just stop in the middle of my documenting when I hear something like, Wait a minute, what did you say?" So so I think if you want them to listen to you, then you also have to show the same. Like you also listen to them. You stop what you're doing when they're saying something. You put put the thing down. Put your cell phone down. Put your tablet down, and have an eye to eye contact and really show that you're focused on them.
okay. So what if they're not listening? Karen, when the kids are not listening in the sense that they did not follow instruction or they're not following instruction, what do you do in that situation?
So that becomes that eye to eye contact. Come here, sit. A lot of times I either bring them up to me, lift them up, look them eye to eye. Let's hear this conversation. Let's get an understanding of what I'm saying. So that eye to eye contact is important, because if you give them that eye to eye, or you make them look at you eye to eye, they'll know you're serious, and then they'll listen better, because they know they may be in trouble if they don't listen.
Okay, so I'm gonna switch this up. So Marisol, what about your patients? How do you make them listen? I mean, you see them, you have a schedule, and you give them instructions, you give them homework because you're a physical therapist. So does this eye to eye method that Karen mentioned, do you use that with your patients?
With my patients, I thought we're still talking about
I know.
with
Well,
my children.
I know. I
With
just
my
I wanna
patients,
I wanna see if this apply. Like, is this effective? And not just with with children, but also with patients. Like for me, if my husband and I are having a misunderstanding or a very animated discussion, like sometimes we're in different parts of the apartment, and I'm like, hang on, I can't understand anything you're saying, and I'm getting frustrated because I'm also I'm giving an answer to what I think I heard. It's because we're both multitasking. So I'll ask him to come here or I'll go there and I'll just stand in front and say, "What did you just say?" Like I can't do anything until I understand what you're saying to me. So this eye to eye thing works for me. But for your
Yeah,
patients,
for my patients, I don't use that to everyone, only to those who I really have a good relationship with. Because I have patients who are, I call them the frequent flyers. Like I discharge them, and then a few months after, they're back on my case. So those patients who I have dealt with so many times, like twice a year, so like I really have a good rapport and good relationship with them. Then yeah, I can just make gestures or eye contact like that, and yeah, that's an effective way of communicating with them.
but that also shows that you have trust. Oh, sorry, Karen, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I just retired. I worked at the hospital, and we also did like biofeedback, which is a form of physical therapy. And you're right. You can't always get through to your patients. You talk to them. You give them the homework that they're supposed to do at home, and then some do it and they're successful, but others do it or half do it or do it when they feel like doing. And yes, they become frequent flyers because we too had a lot of frequent flyers, and you can tell the ones who really wasn't paying attention, even though you went over it and over it. But sometimes too, people just don't understand, because I remember one of the last cases I had, and the person was on their last set of therapy, and they thought they were listening, and then it was like something I said to them that really made something click in their head, and oh, now I understand. So, now we expect that patient to do a lot better because now they understand. So it is about understanding, when you're teaching, when you're teaching someone to listen.
Okay, so I know, Marisol, I know you wanted to talk about how to make your kids listen, but before you answer that, I just want to say when you have an extra layer of distraction that you can't get rid of, and I'm not talking about putting away the phones or I know sometimes when we're in a loud space, it's also very distracting. Or if we're multitasking, pairing socks, cooking, cleaning. But what if there is a like when you know there's something wrong with your child because they had a bad experience during the day, so they can't really focus on what you're saying. How do you m- get through that noise, Marisol?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I guess in situations like that where you know that they had a bad day in school, you really need to have a one-on-one time with them, and even like take them away from the rest of the family member, like take them in a room and it's just you, like me and him, because sometimes even if we're family, sometimes you don't want to share it to your, you don't want to share it to your dad, you don't want to share it to your brother or to your mom, whatever is the case. So being a mom, you just have that instinct in you that you know that something is wrong, so you really have to give that kid a one-on-one time, and kind of give like don't be asking yes or no questions, kind of give like an open-ended question so that you encourage them to talk, like ask them how their day went, and once they answer it, and just keep digging, and just giving them the space and the time to really share what happened in their
Okay.
day.
So we have talking prompts. Karen, do you also use talking prompts with?
Yeah, and like Sister Marisol, like Marisol said, it's this that becomes another form of listening, knowing when you kind of sense that they had a bad day. So you're listening, but you're not listening to what they're saying. You're listening to like their body language, or what they're not saying is what you're listening to. That as a parent, and you been around this child, even a close friend or your husband, sometimes just by that tone of voice or whatever, that is something that they're not saying, that they did have a bad day. And now it becomes like Marisol said, it becomes a different kind of listening. Now it's time to remove all distraction and really focus on and try to get them to open up so you can really understand what they're going through.
Okay. So this is interesting because, Karen, when you were talking about the patient where something finally clicked, I've been in so many situations where I couldn't listen to who was talking to me because I had received information earlier, let's say from a meeting from a manager, and a client's talking to me. I'm like, I'm sorry, could you just repeat that? Just I can't listen because I'm still processing. Maybe it was like traumatic news or something that surprised me. So I was thinking about the patient you were describing. Maybe they couldn't understand the instructions because they were adjusting to the situation, the physical pain, emotional pain, being in a weird environment, being around people you don't know. Also, wearing a hospital gown is a very strange experience. It's something different. So, all right. Do you have any other advice for parents to get their kids? I know, and this is for different age groups. I know, Karen, you've been a mom for a much longer time than Marisol. So Marisol's just coming up to having teenagers, but you have grown children, Karen. So are there any tips that you would give for parents with teenagers or like, young adult age? Because, I know parenting, even if they move out, doesn't stop.
I'm listening, Karen. I'm listening.
I know with my teens and, especially the teens, it's like they're into texting. They won't listen to you when you're talking. Text a conversation to them. They'll start listening because they have to read it. And that's the same thing with my older kids. It's like, okay, they might not want to hear what I got to say, but if I text it to them, they have to read it. So it's getting through to them. They're getting the message because I texted to them. So they have to read it. So that's how I dealt with trying to get a conversation, especially if they, didn't want to listen. Just send them a text. They'll read it.
How long is the text? Is it like a wall? Is it like a paragraph? Or is it just like one sentence?
You don't want it too long because you don't want them to get bored and say, "Ah, she's saying the same thing." So you might just send one text and you know let that savor for a minute, and then maybe 5 minutes later send another text, and then eventually because they have to read it. So at least you got your point. At least you got it to them. You delivered it to them. How they receive it, is different. One of my daughters once told me. She said, Mom, you tell us the same thing over and over. You change up how you do it. She said, but we're listening to you. I said, well, I just need to make sure you guys hear it. So I used to just tell them, in a different way. I would, I start off one way and then it's like the same conversation is going, but they know it. So they are listening. But if you think they aren't listening, then just send them a text.
Okay. Like they're not engaging. Okay.
Yes.
So Marisol, are you texting your kids yet? Or are you still popping
Yeah, we
into their
do.
room and just, hey, I'm talking to you? No.
I actually do both. So we have a group chat, our family, and if I don't get an answer, I do knock on the room. Hey, what's going on? Like you've been up here for a while. We haven't seen you for a while. So, it's really challenging. Like every year is a change there's always a change in them. Like I thought like as they get older, it gets better, but it
No, no. Someone once asked me that. They had little kids and they were like, it gets better, right? No, it gets worse because now
No.
you can no longer send them to their room now. You
Oh
can no longer
no.
make them sit down and listen. It gets worse. It kind of gets worse.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true. If they don't live with you, how can you ground them, right? Or limit or discipline them, right? You can't do that with grown children. Okay. Wow. Well, at least you're getting all the advice now, Marisol. Don't be worried. It's just ask Karen for advice.
But
Okay.
if you develop a good listening, like a good rapport with them, listening to them listening to you, then no matter how old they are, they'll still come to you for advice and they'll still listen to you, what you say.
What about when you're in a disagreement or there's maybe the children are fighting, there's some kind of misunderstanding? Um as a parent, are you the first to come to the table and try to work things out, or do you do you wait out the kids? We're talking about listening, but you can't really listen if you're angry at someone. Is really the question. Like, how do you get through that moment? Do you just give it some time? Do you address it right away? What do you do, Karen?
Well, for me, I've learned that it's best to let kids work it out for themselves. So you make them sit there and talk it out, because a lot of times it is a misunderstanding. And if they play together, they're growing up together. They understand each other better than we understand them. So they have that relationship. So it's best to like let them work it out. In a nonviolent way. Have them sit and discuss it with each other to work through what their disagreement is about.
Wow, so you can't leave the table until you talk about it. Marisol, do you do this with your sons? No.
You know what? Being teenagers, I sometimes have to remind myself that they're teenagers now and they have their own opinions, they have their own voice, and that you can't just cut them off. Like you have to listen, even if you don't agree on what they're saying, or sometimes if you're in an argument and as a parent that they're wrong, but they also know that they're right. So it's kind of like hard to make them understand, well, you're wrong. No matter what you say, you are wrong. I'm the parent here. You are wrong. So just stop talking, and you can't do that to them anymore as a teenager, because they're just gonna like, well, you're not giving me the right to speak out and to explain myself. This is that age where, like, okay, you have teenager boys now, and you actually have to step back and listen to them, because I have to admit it, I'm not right all the time, and there were situations where I'm like, I'm sorry, I am wrong. So I found out that if, like, we're in an argument and if it gets really heated up and I know that I'm wrong, sometimes I can't admit it right away, because like I am in the heat of that emotion, right? Like I don't want to admit that I'm wrong, but they want is your apology. So now I have to swallow my pride, and if I know I'm wrong, I just apologize, like, I'm sorry. And everything is all better once they hear that I apologize. They're not mad at me anymore. They just need to hear that apology. So I'm like, you know what? It's easy. As soon as I say sorry, that's the end of the argument. But I'm also fair. But if I know I'm right, I'm not going to apologize.
These are all natural feelings, right? So, okay, we're actually at time. I want to ask one more question, because I think it's important as well to know, do you limit or what the children are listening to? Like nowadays, there's so much content on social media. Do you limit what podcasts they listen to or what music they listen to? Because these things, they listen to them every day, all the time. I feel like a lot of kids always have ear pods in. They can't do anything without it. I don't know what they're listening to. If it's music, if it's a podcast, maybe it's just like white noise to help them stay focused. But do you limit? I don't want to say censor, but do you screen what they listen to or watch, Karen?
When my grandkids come over, yes, I have a limit to what you can watch. I mean, I didn't have to go through this when my kids were coming up, because it was like it wasn't as much content out there as it is
Hmm.
now. But when the grandkids come over, I do limit, and even if they say, well, my mom or my parents let me, I don't care. You're not watching it in here, and I don't approve of you watching it at all. So
Mm.
yes, I do. And they're a little younger. I don't have the problem with the earpod thing. At work, that was a problem. You're trying to talk to people and all they have is earpods in their, ear. So, and these were like, I guess 20, 30 year old, just walking around with ear stuff. But I don't have that problem out of the kids, you know.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
No, that's great. What about you, Marisol? Do you screen what your kids listen and watch?
When they were little, yeah, I would screen them. But now that they're older, I kind of want to respect their privacy. They have their own phones. I don't want to just grab the phone and look at it and to see what they're watching or they're listening to. But I always remind them, especially like if we're in a car and I'm driving and I see that they're just scrolling, and I kind of glance like, what are you watching? And I just always at this age, I'm just reminding them all the time that there's so many other better ways to put your time on, like there's so many good contents out there. I always remind them it's okay to be on social media, on the internet, but you have to choose what you watch. Make sure that what you watch is valuable and that can improve you as a person, and not just waste your time watching these nonsense, videos or games. And I would I would send them videos that I want them to listen to. And I always encourage them. This is what you should listen to. You're so lucky. This information are out there. I would have, I would have loved to have this information when I was young, like your age. These are the things that you should listen. Something that can make you a better person.
No, that's
I,
so true. Go ahead,
I know
Karen.
in the car is, all phones are off. We're going to have a conversation with each other. No phones, no gadgets or anything in the car. And my grandkids know that. So they put everything down.
Wow. So not just at the table when you're eating, but also in the car ride.
Exactly. Because I'm like, we're in this space together. Why are you on the phone with someone else?
That's true. No, that's true. That's like just taking it old school, Karen.
Yeah.
Life before cell phones. It's just the radio. Your only option is the radio, and then you have to play games in the car. All right, I we have to go because we are out of time. So I want to thank you both for coming and sharing your insights. Hopefully, our viewers have taken away some practical advice they can try at home. So before we go, I want to go to Karen first for your shout outs.
Okay, I'd like to give a shout out first of all to Sister Marita for her. Today was her birthday. That's where I was coming from, celebrating with her and her family. Also, Sister Rosemary Upchurch, whose birthday is this coming Saturday, along with Sister Felly Gopez, who from the locale of Philadelphia, whose birthday is both of their birthday is this coming Saturday.
Oh, happy birthday. All right, what about you, Maricel?
Happy birthday to two of my friends who are celebrating this November. Happy birthday, Sister Eileen and Sister Casey. And hi to my boys. I hope you are actively listening. And also to my husband, Brother Brian.
Yes. Oh, and for me, my shout out goes to brother James Malabana and happy birthday to you. All right, moving on to our next segment. Tossing it to you, Marisol, for our next segment.
All right, our next segment is Audience Spotlight. So, for honorable mention, congratulations to Philadelphia. For our third place, congratulations to Delaware, the extension of Delaware. Wow, great job. Keep it up. And second place, Aston. First place, local of Sister Leia, Elizabeth. Congratulations.
Yay. Awesome. All right. I think we have one reminder from Karen. What is your reminder for us?
Okay, the reminder for this week is please check with your local congregation for any updates on activities for this coming week.
All right. And that brings us to our extra.
All right, that's it for today's show. Thank you to everyone who tuned into today's show. If you found value in our discussion today, please like and subscribe for more content like this. And if you think that this episode would be helpful to someone you know, please share the link with them. And if there's any topic you'd like to hear about or want to join us, feel free to reach out. And before we go, we'd like to thank our church administration for their continuous support to INC Radio and allowing us to have this show where we can stay connected and learn together. We also want to acknowledge our District Supervising Minister, Brother Alan P. Fernandez, our Assistant District Supervising Minister, Brother Ruben Bustos Jr., our Christian Family Organization Overseer, Brother Royal Molin, and our District Multimedia Advisor, Brother James Malabanan. Advance happy birthday to you, Brother James.
All right, but we especially thank our church administration. First, to our beloved executive minister, Brother Eduardo Manalo, and our deputy executive minister, Brother Angelo Manalo. We'd also like to thank our INC radio station manager, Brother Wally Tarai, and our techs in the main studio.
And before we say goodbye, we again thank all of our visitors for taking the time out to watch this episode. See you on the next episode of INC New Jersey.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
This is INCRadio, DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.